Let's talk about red rice. Welcome back to Sprung On Food. I'm your host, Kae Sprung. This season, we're talking about favorite foods, the history behind it, and the role it plays in the world today. Joining me today is Community Engagement Manager and founder of Black Food Fridays, KJ Kearney. KJ, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to this.
Oh, I am looking forward to this as well. You come with a wealth of knowledge of food, and you have built such an impressive community and respect so much what you're doing. But we are here to talk about your favorite food. So I've got to know, why is this your favorite food?
It's my favorite food, first and foremost, because I'm a Gullah Geechee person. And for those of you who do not know, Gullah Geechee people are the direct descendants of the West Africans who were forcibly brought over to this country to cultivate rice. And so rice is like in my DNA. I could eat rice literally every single day. But red rice in particular is a very special thing that Gullah Geechee people eat up and down the cultural corridor and is connected to our West African brothers and sisters who eat jollof rice. So it's like I'm connected to my community here and connected to a community abroad. And it's delicious. So why not?
Yeah. And do you have your own recipe? Is there a specific family recipe that's just been passed down?
That's a good question. No, I don't have my own recipe because I am more of an eater than a cooker. Uh,
Aha.
it's a great thing to have friends and family who know how to get busy. So I just reap the benefits of that.
Yeah, I mean, not a bad place to be. Are there
Right.
any friends or families that we should shout out who are just taking it out of the park, or any
Mm.
restaurants that might serve it that deserve a shout out that you really enjoy frequenting?
I mean, first and foremost, I would have to give a shout out to my aunt Shirley Washington. She was the family, provider of red rice at our big family functions. She's now older, so she can't, do it anymore. She's moved to Florida.
Oh,
Um, as far as restaurants are concerned, most people will tell you you find the best red rice at someone's house.
mm.
Yeah, but I love there's a restaurant on James Island called Gillies that's been closed for a little bit, but hopefully they'll be coming back soon. Their red rice, ugh, impeccable, bro. But you know
Oh,
who else? Piggly Wiggly, the grocery store.
what?
Piggly Wiggly has good red rice, man. Just don't sleep on the pig.
I am shocked and amazed. I know Piggly Wiggly is like a regional
Correct.
place, so I never grew up with one around me. Would this be in like their prepared or deli kind of section? Is that what we're talking
Absolutely.
about?
Think of Publix or Walmart and their like hot bar
Sure.
situation. Piggly Wiggly has been doing that since before I was a child, and
Wow.
they serve a lot of cultural cuisine, and red rice is on the menu most days of the week. So if you want a quick fix, you can go to the grocery store and get some.
This is incredible insider intel, or maybe not. I mean, people are probably listening, being like, oh, no, no, I already know about this.
Right.
But this is great because if people aren't as blessed to have family members who can cook it up for them, they can take just a trip to their grocery store if they're near one or when they're
Mm.
traveling and get some. Wow. If you, okay, this is going to be a bold question, but if you were blindfolded,
Okay.
you would be able to tell the difference between, would you be able to tell the difference between like a homemade from maybe a family member or friend and Piggly Wiggly's?
Mm, I would say yes,
Okay.
only because while I do enjoy the Piggly Wiggly variety, it does tend to be a little bit more on the dry side
Okay.
because it's sitting under, on the
Yeah.
hot bar. So depending on
Hmm.
where you go, you might get a little drier variety versus eating it fresh out someone's home. The grains are still individually separated. We like our grains to be separated,
Mm.
but there's still a moistness to it that uh, just to be frank, a Piggly Wiggly or any other restaurant, it'd be hard for them to maintain over the course of a day.
Right. Yeah. But at least flavor wise, they're at least kind of like
Oh, they're
hitting
in the
that mark.
ballpark. Absolutely. Yeah, they're still in the same, in
Wow.
terms of flavor, they're on the same court. In terms of moisture, sometimes they can be in different buildings.
Sure. Yes, we have our pros and cons for sure. But it's great to know that there is an accessible version for folks who may not have had entree to it in any other capacity.
Right.
This is great insider intel. Again, I'm using that phrase, but people probably already know, but news to me. So,
Right,
so
right. That's
thank
what
you
matters.
for sharing that knowledge with me. Now, I will say when you first presented to me your favorite food of red rice, and I started looking into everything, I started going down a bit of a rabbit hole.
Mm.
And so I was like, okay, yes, we have red rice, the dish, but also there's red rice, like red rice.
Right.
And there are so many interesting interwoven aspects into everything. So I wanted to do a little extra credit and encompass all of that into this.
Okay.
So to better understand and appreciate our food, we've got to know where it came from.
Right.
Well, buckle up because we're going from the Himalayas to the low country and everywhere in between. What is red rice really? Well, let's start with the basics. Red rice isn't one specific variety. It's actually a broad category of rice cultivars that have a distinctive red and reddish brown brand layer, thanks to compounds called anthocyanins. These are natural pigments with antioxidant properties, the same compounds that give blueberries their deep blueness and mulberries their moleness. Red rice is typically whole grain or partially milled, meaning it retains much of its bran and germ. That translates to more fiber, more flavor, and a slightly nutty, chewy texture. There are multiple regional strands of red rice, each with its own story. And there's also the dish, red rice, that doesn't actually contain red rice. And we're going to cover all of them. Let's start in Bhutan, a small Himalayan kingdom where Bhutanese red rice, likely cultivated for centuries, is more than just a side dish. It's a cultural cornerstone. Grown at high altitudes in terraced fields, this rice thrives in mineral-rich glacial soil. It's semi-milled, so it cooks faster than brown rice, and it turns a pretty pale pink when it's done. In Bhutan, red rice is served with almost everything. Think emadotsi, the spicy national dish made with chilies and cheese, or hearty meat stews cooked with mountain herbs. This isn't just a matter of flavor. In Bhutanese tradition, rice holds a spiritual significance. Rice is offered in Buddhist rituals, shared during festivals, and seen as a symbol of life and fuel. In fact, Lotus Foods, a California-based company, is largely credited for introducing Bhutanese red rice to a Western audience on a commercial scale in the 1990s. They work with Bhutanese farmers to export this semi-milled red rice, positioning it as a healthy, sustainable alternative to common rice varieties. Since 2009, Lotus Foods has purchased over, KJ, do you want to guess how many pounds of rice they've purchased since
Since not
2009?
since 2009, I would say 1 metric ton.
1 metric ton. Oh my God, my math skills. So 2,000 pounds per ton. It is over 58.3 million pounds of organic rice, partnering with small family farmers practicing the system of rice intensification, or SRI methods, which they refer to as more crop per drop. Through these sustainable practices, the company has saved approximately, okay, KJ, we're gonna do our guessing game again. If you want to answer in tons, I guess that's okay too. But how many gallons of water do you think that they've saved since
Hmm.
2009?
That's a great question because rice is a very water concentrated crop. You need rice to a water. Okay, I'm gonna just for argument's sake, let's say I like 1 million. Let's do a
Okay.
million gallons.
Okay. Well, by Price is Right rules, you win, but I might just blow your mind here. It's actually 6.1 billion with a B
B.
gallons of water and reduced 57.1 thousand cumulative tons of CO2 equivalent emissions. Very impressive. When
Hmm.
it comes to sustainability in food, do you have any tips or practices that you like to follow?
I will say that one of the things that me and my family are going to do this year is we're going to grow our own food. Yeah, we're gonna find a master gardener in the area who can come to the house and kind of show us what we're doing because I'm not really interested in wasting money. Speaking of
Mhm.
being sustainable, right?
Yeah.
But we have a big old yard, and you're just watering it every month, every week, or whatever. no, we're going to try to grow some food, try to be sustainable on our own land.
Oh, I love that so much. I had a previous guest that is very much into sustainability and the ecosystem, and they were they're comedians, so they were also kind of poking fun of like, what even is a lawn? Why do people have lawns? Everybody should just have a garden so that they
Hmm.
can grow and eat their own food, share it with neighbors and friends. Are
Hmm.
there any foods in particular that you would love to have there?
Absolutely. My top three are okra,
Mm-hmm.
sweet potato,
Whoa.
and watermelon. I know watermelon's kind of intense. Or I heard it's kind of intense to grow, but we're
Oh,
gonna figure it out.
oh, and what makes it that intense to grow?
I think it's just very sensitive to how
Mm.
much water and light until it gets to a certain size, then you kind of can just let it go. That's what I've been told, but that's why we're hiring an expert because the internet lies all the
Yes.
time.
Yes, and sometimes even these TikTok experts that we see, they may not have all the answers. Have you
Hmm.
ever seen any of these? I don't know what the proper terminology is. It's not like a clamshell, but in that same vein where
Hmm.
it has like a design and you put it around, I think the vine, and then the watermelon will grow
Oh,
into that
into the
shape.
yeah, yeah, like the square Japanese watermelons. I've seen those before.
I've even seen one, well, the one that's sticking out in my mind, and I can send you this picture later. For like Halloween, there's like a Frankenstein monster head one, and there's somebody who will grow them into those, and
See, I need that in my life.
it's very detail oriented,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
don't believe that it impacts the fruit in any negative way, which of course would be the green light to try that, but
Right.
I don't know. Start thinking of cool shapes.
Right, right, right. I'm not even mad at that.
Well, Bhutan isn't the only Himalayan region with red rice ties. In India, particularly in the southern states of Kerala, there's a red rice called mata rice, sometimes known as rose mata. This rice has been cultivated for centuries in the Palakkad region and is a staple in Kerala's traditional meals. It's often served with fish curry, coconut rich vegetarian dishes, or lentils. Kerala red rice is prized for its hearty texture and the ability to hold up strong spices and gravies. And, fun fact, it's also served in temples as part of sacred offerings. In Indian Ayurveda, red rice is considered sattvic, which in terms of food means it's considered easy to digest, fresh, and light. And there's an environmental angle to these red rice varieties. Bhutanese red and Kerala mata are often grown organically and sustainably in small-scale farming systems, which supports biodiversity and food sovereignty. Way to go, little grain. KJ, it's mentioned that this food is it's said to be easy to digest and light. If you personally are looking for something a bit more neutral, easy on the tummy, do you have any go-to foods in particular?
I mean, can we stick with rice? Carolina
Yeah.
Gold Rice
Mm-hmm.
is the end all be all. And I know there are hundreds of varieties of rice, but Carolina Gold is by far the best thing in my life in terms of if I want the rice, I want something delicious. I want something that everybody's not going to have also because exclusivity does make it taste better a little bit.
Okay.
Uh, but yeah, I would go with Carolina Gold Rice every single time.
Okay, amazing. Well, that also leads to some fun foreshadowing for later in our story. So we'll put a little pin in that. Red rice has also made appearances in Southeast Asia and southern China, both as a staple food and medicinal ingredient. In China, you'll find red yeast rice, which is technically different. It's white rice that's been fermented with a red mold called Monascus purpureus. This rice has been used since the Tang Dynasty, 618 to 907 CE, both as a food coloring and a medicine. It's been referenced in ancient Chinese pharmacopoeias for its ability to aid digestion and circulation. But non-fermented red rice is also grown and eaten in regions of Yunnan and Guangxi, often in minority ethnic cuisines, particularly among groups like the Han and Zhuan people, where it's integrated into celebratory meals and ancestral rituals. In Thailand, red jasmine rice, also called Thai red cargo rice, is grown in the northeast and eaten in place of white rice for its nutritional value. The name cargo comes from KJ, do you want to take a guess?
Shipping stuff?
Ding, ding, ding. It comes from the way that it was historically shipped in bulk, and today it's often exported as a health food. Now, let's pivot to Africa, where the story takes a profound and often overlooked turn. Before colonization and the mass spread of Asian rice varieties, Oryza sativa, West Africa has its own indigenous rice species, Oryza glaberrima, domesticated over 3,000 years ago in what's now Mali. This African rice often had a reddish hue, and while it's not the same as the Asian varieties we typically call red rice, the connection is important. These indigenous grains were incredibly hardy, resistant to flooding, and central to traditional farming systems. They were cultivated primarily by women, who were also stewards of seed knowledge. However, with the European colonization and the Atlantic slave trade, Oryza glaberrima was gradually displaced by Oryza sativa, which colonizers viewed as more productive, though it wasn't always better suited for the local climate. KJ, are there any foods that you, as far as you know of, are not indigenous to the United States, but you are very glad that they are either grown here now or have easy access to?
Oh, that's a good one. I would probably go with the actual yam, not what
Ah,
we as Southerners consider yams. You know what I mean?
would you like to expand on that?
Well, yeah, the pink, well, most of us know about the orange sweet potato, right?
Hmm.
But in the South, for those of you who are not Southerners, we call sweet potatoes yams. Now, exactly how that came about, I don't know. There's stories I've read that said that when the recently enslaved were brought to this country and they saw the outside shell of a sweet potato, it reminded them of the outside shell of the yams that they would eat back home, which most of those yams, when you open them up, they're white on the inside or maybe
Mm.
yellow on the inside. So there's a conflating of the name down south that is 100% incorrect, but
Mm.
also 100% right for us because we've been using it interchangeably this whole time.
Ah, wow. Well, okay. So we're so glad that it's here today. Yeah, for me personally, I something that yes is indigenous to this region that I am so grateful for is maybe one of my favorite foods, corn. I just like in any however you make it, whatever you use it, like 100%, uh, my fave. So thank you, corn.
Thank you, corn. Shout out to corn.
Shout out to corn. Yeah, I mean, listen, there was that one little boy who has a smash hit song with corn. So everybody, I think
Yeah, yeah,
they
yeah.
get it. They're
I
on
hope that
board.
kid's getting paid, bro. But he produced a lot of corn content for the corn trade associations or whatever it may be.
Yes, I started the weirdest thing, don't ask me why, but I literally was thinking about him and that song yesterday, and I started to think, not even as if it was that long ago, but I was like, where is he now? And also, I wonder what that song did for maybe the corn industry. Was there that I never thought to look up? Was there like an influx in the sale of corn? Were farmers like just celebrating? I wonder what the back end of that was like that I didn't even think about. We're like, this song's awesome, huge
Yeah,
meme, but I was like, for the food industry, what did
I
that
think
mean?
I think if we could pinpoint when the phrase and then the song became popular, we could probably go back and like Google Trends and like see the proliferation of searches for corn and corn related activities and products.
100%. Yeah, that's actually a really, really okay. So I've got my homework. I know what
There
I'm
you
doing
go.
after this. Yes, and I will report back. Well, still, red rice in both indigenous and imported forms remained deeply woven into foodways and rituals, and it traveled across the ocean in the hearts and memories of enslaved Africans. Now we land in the American South, specifically the Low Country region of South Carolina and Georgia. Enslaved West Africans brought not only their labor but their deep knowledge of rice cultivation, which helped establish Carolina Gold, a prized rice strain that fueled the colonial economy. And if you want to learn more about that rice, you can check out my History of Chicken Bog episode on YouTube or available wherever you get your podcasts. But here's where red rice enters the American story in a big way. Charleston red rice is a Gullah Geechee dish, a tomato-based rice dish that blends West African techniques with local ingredients. It's believed to have evolved from jollof rice, a West African classic, as you've mentioned, and was adapted over generations in enslaved kitchens. It typically includes tomatoes, bell peppers, onions, garlic, and sometimes smoky sausage or bacon, all simmered together with rice to create a deeply comforting one-pot meal. This isn't just food, it's a symbol of survival and cultural retention. KJ, I know you started off talking about Gullah Geechee. Is there anything that you would like to add to that from a cultural standpoint?
Yeah, the one thing that I'd like to add to this discussion is that many people who are Gullah Geechee don't actually identify as Gullah Geechee in
Mm.
this recent wave, and I'm going to say recent being 10 years, right? This recent wave of there being a thirst for knowledge on our culture is polarizing to say the least. There are people who are like about damn time, and then there
Mm.
are people who are like weirded out by it. Like, why do y'all care now?
Mm.
Like my mother does not speak with a Gullah Geechee accent. She can, she just doesn't normally do it because my grandma wouldn't let her. You know, there was a stigma
Mm.
around sounding Gullah Geechee, about eating Gullah Geechee, and some of us, in our effort to just make life easier for ourselves, kind of distance ourselves from that. Even in our school districts, like I'm gonna speak for Charleston County School District because I used to work in Charleston County School District and I was a student in Charleston County School District. It never came up. Being Gullah Geechee
Mm.
never came up. Our cuisine never came up. And so, you know, a lot of people are kind of weirded out that now everyone seems to be interested in, you know, what we've been doing for the last 300 years, you know?
And is there anything that you can think of that attributes to that?
Yeah, Charleston has become white Atlanta. I tell people that all the time, right? Like when I was a child, Charleston was 80% black,
Mm.
and now it's like down to like 15%. And
Wow.
so, yeah, and so when people move here, they are interested in the culture that exists, right? A lot of people who are coming here are not coming to turn us into New York City. They're not coming to turn us into LA. They're coming to experience what is already here. So you have a lot of people who aren't from here, who don't know the stigmas, who don't know any of the pain associated with it, and they just have a genuine interest of like, what is Gullah Geechee? You know, what is red rice? How does that taste? Can I make it at home? Where can I get it? You know, so I think that inquisitiveness
Mm.
has shown businesses, especially those who market cities like Charleston as a place to visit, that they should be tapping into to that culture for economic purposes, really.
Yes. And thinking about all of this too, something had flashed into my old memory bank, and I don't know if this ever entered your zeitgeist of TV viewing or knowledge, but there was a show on Nick Jr. Did you ever know about this show called Gullah Gullah Island?
Yeah, I did. I 100%. And I know the people who founded it. In fact,
Is that right?
Mr. Ron Days and his wife, I actually hosted an event for the Gullah Geechee Cultural Heritage Corridor. Uh, I want to say it was either late last year or early this year with Mr. Ron Days, who was one of the co-founders of Gullah Gullah Island. So, yeah, they're still alive and they're still out here teaching, spreading the Gullah Geechee gospel, if you will.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
but that show again, that just to reiterate how weird it wasn't a huge deal in Charleston. You know what I
Mm.
mean? And it almost to some people felt like caricature of the culture, right?
Mm.
You know, you have the frog, binya binya. Well,
Right.
what people don't know is in the Gullah Geechee language, binya is a real word. It is real word to us. Binya is someone who has been here. So like I'm a binya. If
Ah.
right, I'm from here, my ancestry is here, I'm a binya. If you're not from here, we call you a kamya. So you came
Wow.
here, you know what I mean? And so like for some of us, we looked at the show, and I'm in this 1994, I was a kid, so I'm not real versed on all the politics at the time,
No,
but
totally. Yeah.
yeah, I do know that it was a thing. Some people thought like, who are these people making fun of us? And then some people were
Ah.
like, oh, this is awesome. Maybe it'll spread. So I do think that Gullah Gullah Island has a big impact of where we are now in terms of the culture being accepted and exalted and elevated.
Yes. Yeah, I was just kind of transported to to a time where I had seen that show. I can even I won't do it now, but I can sing the theme song.
There you
Like
go.
I knew it. I still remember Binya Binya Pollywog,
Yeah.
and it was, and as you know, such a small child, I did not know the cultural references
Hmm.
at that time, of course, and I grew up in an area where that wasn't prevalent. So to me, I just remembered enjoying the show so much. And so now I am even more inspired to see if I can find it somewhere
Hmm.
in the internet world to revisit it, because I am just so curious about viewing it through the lens of an adult with a
Right.
fully formed frontal cortex now, and really understanding and seeing it from a totally uh, different lens.
Yeah.
But I did remember that show, and I was just like, oh, I have to ask KJ, like, if he knows about that show too.
Oh yeah, I definitely know about it. And that's a good point. I wonder, does Nickelodeon have, like, everybody has a plus streaming service?
So what are my homework assignments so far? I have to look up the trends of corn after
Come
its
on.
corn song, and
Hmm.
then I will look this up, where to view this, and I will send you all of this
I
so that
need that. I
you
need
have the
that
knowledge
data.
as well. Yes, do not worry, I will come through.
Absolutely.
Well, as you have mentioned, the Gullah Geechee people, descendants of enslaved Africans in the Low Country, preserved their language, traditions, and foodways through intense adversity. Red rice is one of those culinary legacies, served at Sunday suppers, family reunions, and community gatherings, and apparently at Piggly Wiggly. Fast forward to today, and red rice has officially joined the ranks of heritage grains, a term that reflects its ancient roots and renewed relevance. Thanks to the global wellness movement, red rice, the grain, is now showing up in health-conscious cookbooks and food blogs. Red rice, the dish, is also having a resurgence in places like Louisiana, where chefs are reinterpreting Creole and Gullah Geechee dishes, leaning into traditional grains and heirloom ingredients as a form of culinary storytelling. Red rice is more than just a colorful alternative to brown or white. It's a grain with legacy, carried by farmers in the Himalayas, women in West African villages, monks in Chinese temples, and cooks in Gullah kitchens. It holds centuries of migration, memory, and meaning in every grain. When we eat red rice today, whether it's in a trendy grain bowl or a family pot of Charleston red, we're not just feeding ourselves, we're connecting to something older, richer, and deeply rooted. KJ, what do you think about this backstory of not just red rice the dish, but also red rice as a grain category?
I mean, again, if it's left up to me, we can't have enough rice.
Hmm.
Like, please, let's add more rices, more category, more all of that. I'm with all of that. And then one thing that I don't think I mentioned to you is, in 2018, I wrote the proclamation for Red Rice Day for the city of Charleston. And so anytime, and I mean this, anytime anybody wants to do anything to elevate rice, you have my full support.
Hell yes. Do you have any, I don't know, dream projects or collaborations?
I mean, as it relates to rice, absolutely. Most of us, you mentioned, and you were absolutely right. A lot of us put a smoked sausage of some sort in our red rice, and for 90% of us, that smoked sausage of choice is Roger Wood sausage.
Okay.
They are based in Savannah, Georgia, and so I would love to have a meaningful, impactful, intentional collaboration with Roger Wood sausage around this cultural dish.
Oh,
And then there's black farmers in Hardyville, South Carolina, the Rollins. They grow actually Carolina Gold rice. So like a dream collaboration for me is the Rollins Greens family, Roger Wood sausage, Black Food Fridays coming together and forming some kind of educational yet delicious and entertaining cipher of food.
oh, well, we will 100% put this into the universe,
There we
manifest
go.
this, copy paste this clip, this soundbite, and send it to them for sure. That could be amazing.
It could be. It could be right.
So I think this is beautiful. You have to keep me posted. I
Hmm.
cannot wait to see what happens with this. I will be at this event.
There we go. Let's
Oh,
go. We're going to put it out in the atmosphere. We're going to
yes.
clip that so that Roger Wood and
Uh-huh.
Rollins see it, and then we're
Uh-huh.
going to work something out. It's going to be
Yes.
dope.
100%. Yes. Well, you can even find red rice in pop culture. The late Dr. Maya Angelou has a recipe for red rice, which is made the Gullah Geechee style as a reflection of her Arkansas upbringing. Stephen Colbert, a native of South Carolina, has a long-standing affection for red rice, a staple from his elementary school days. Colbert and his wife Evie developed a unique red rice recipe featured in their cookbook, Does This Taste Funny? In 2021, High on the Hog came to Netflix. This critically acclaimed series, based on Dr. Jessica B. Harris's book, visually showcased Charleston red rice and its connection to West African traditions, bringing it to a wider global audience. Chef B.J. Dennis was featured, often called an ambassador for Gullah Geechee cuisine, and has been an instrumental part in bringing red rice, Carolina gold rice, and other traditional Gullah dishes back into the national culinary conversation. KJ, are there any other pop cultural moments that you can think of or final words that you have for red rice?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to add Miss Cartier Brown to that list of cultural icons who are bringing Gullah cuisine to the national forefront. For those of you who do not know, Cartier Brown's family is from Wadmalaw, which is deep in Charleston County, like deep Gullah Geechee territory. And she has a hit show on the Food Network called Delicious Miss Brown, which I was a guest both on High on the Hog and Delicious Miss Brown. So there's a connection there. But she has a cookbook and she's done an episode on red rice. So whether you see the show or you buy her book, please, you can use her as a reference for red rice as well.
That's incredible. Thank you for adding that. Yes, I feel so many people have such a long list now, which is good,
Mm.
of things to watch, things to read, cultural events in the future to
Future cultural
attend to.
events.
Yes, which is amazing and
Right.
exciting. KJ, thank you so much for joining me to talk about red rice and help me to tell its story.
Absolutely. This is dope. I think people are going to learn a lot from this episode, not just because I was on it, because you did your research, dude. Like, I got to give you credit for that. Thank you for coming prepared and teaching people the way.
Oh, thank you. Well, it's my honor and privilege. And selfishly, I get to learn so much through doing this as well. So I'm glad we could collaborate in this fashion. Thanks for watching. You can find links and more info in the description below. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. See you next time.